Fab. Well, welcome back to the corporate and the mystic, breaking down burnout. I'm going to say I'm dressed like the mystic and Jen's dressed like the corporate today. We've swapped roles.
It's a beautiful piece to drop in on. So I'm just going to drop a pin in what you just said then. So we'll come back to it.
Fab. All right. Well, last week one of the conversation, we talked about how to recognize you're in burnout. We talked about the World Health Organization description of it. Jen and I both shared our burnout stories and the ugliness of that. And I'm so glad that resonated with you, because the discussion and the comments, the messages that have followed have indicated that it really connected with you. So I'm so glad about that. This week, we're talking about how to live with and in burnout, because until you're feeling like you're on the road to recovery, there's often like a significant period of time where you've just got to keep going, even though you feel burned out, right? And the tips and tricks that we're going to give you today should help make that time easier, smoother, and hopefully shorter. We're going to talk about how to recognize your limits. We've all got limits. Most of us ignore them, shout over them, dismiss them, work through them, push through them anyway. How to recognize your limits, how to say no, beyond just saying no. This is a specialty of Jen's, and I know I'm going to learn something at that moment as well. And then how to manage expectations of ourselves as well as others. That's the content we're covering today, and it's all designed to make this living with and in burnout moment a little bit easier and smoother for us. Jen, drop that pin. What were you going to...
Yes, so I love that. I love how you said that. You're looking more like the mystic today and I'm looking more like the corporate today. One of the things that has been part of my journey forward in living in full alignment, and to me that's the antidote to burnout, so let me just drop that one right in there. Alignment is the antidote to burnout. So one of the things that I am very conscious and aware of is really not putting myself in boxes, not putting myself in categories, not putting labels on myself. One of the big principles that I work with is to dissolve the paradigm that we currently live in, and this is huge in business and huge in life, but the paradigm of either or. We have to be either or for me, I prefer to live in the both and. So I can be both and. And you can be both mystic and corporate. I can be both mystic and corporate. I can wake up one day and do work with my clients in my cut-off jean shorts. Obviously I'm on Zoom, but even so, even if I wasn't, in my singlet top or whatever. And other days I wake up and I go, what am I feeling today? What's going to really raise my vibration today? You know what? I want to put on a really nice dress. I want to, go ham on my makeup. And I think it's really important that we don't pigeonhole ourselves, don't put ourselves in boxes, don't, be in the I'm this or I'm this. We can be both and, both this and this. Yeah, so I love that. I love we've kind of, done that and presented that today.
I think, with me, like we've both had lots of experience in the corporate world, and where I have found my sense of freedom, like I can breathe again, like I can be creative, is integrating more of the intuitive into my corporate coaching practice. And allowing that part of me to come through. And guess what? I don't sell it. When I'm selling a leadership program, I don't say I'm going to bring my intuition and my, mystical knowings. That doesn't sell.
I live for the day when that is the thing. I live for the day when you can speak it that way, Ange. And I love that we're on the path to that.
I do sell leadership development, but what I know is how thirsty my clients are to feel connected to themselves, to be seen, and to access that knowing within themselves. And so that's what we're going to tap into today as we go into our content areas. in the comments, in the chat, I'm just wondering, for those who were with us last week, which I think is almost everyone, oh, hey, Janelle and Emma, I was just wondering, just start to drop in the comments of what's been coming up for you since our last conversation about burnout. Was it a realization that, whoops, I am in burnout myself, or I'm close to it, or I've been in it for a while and I didn't know? What's been coming up for you guys around that first burnout chat? Would love to hear. And as those comments are coming in, we'll start to get into our first topic area, Jen, which is how to recognize your limits. What have you got for us on this? I've got a list of stuff I want to go through. What have you got?
Conscious, I feel like I could be close, if not in it. Emma, thank you so much for your honesty and your transparency on that. I really acknowledge it takes courage to speak this stuff out loud sometimes, which is what, the key to it. Realization that burnout, oh my God, they're coming in fast. We'll come back to that. I'll come back to those, and I'll just answer the question. What was the question?
How to recognize your limits. Recognize your limits.
Recognizing your limits. You know what? For me, initially, the way I got to recognize my limits was that I wasn't recognizing my limits. That was, that was how it began for me. In my book, I share a story that Elizabeth Gilbert shared. I did some coaching with Liz. She's not my friend. I'm not name dropping, but I traveled to America, and I wish she was my friend. She's an awesome woman. But I traveled to America to do her workshop, and she shared such a powerful story when she was at that moment, that defining moment that we talked about last week, where she didn't know what it was that she wanted in her life or desired in her life, but what she totally knew, and she was literally on the floor in her kitchen at 3 a.m. and her husband at the time was upstairs sleeping, and she was so in this this pit of who she wasn't, that she couldn't even for a second in one breath have any clarity on what she did want. But the words that kept coming up when she sat with that was not this. So I think sometimes recognizing our limitations is where are you at that moment in your life where you are like, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want, I don't know anything other than not this. So I think, for me, I've had many not this moments, and I continue to do this. I continue to have not this moments, and my body is where I get that indication first and foremost. Your bodies never lie, and some of you will have maybe have some recognition of what it means to tune into your body. Intuition is that word Ange used. I would suggest that many of you have examples in your life where you have trusted your intuition, and I would suggest equally the opposite. You've had many examples of when you didn't trust your intuition. So that to me is your body talking to you. Your body is going to give you your not this moments, which are your limits. The second your body's screaming at you, you're either at your limits or you've completely surpassed it. Yeah. That's my piece on
Love
that.
it. Not this.
Not this.
Sometimes it's just enough to know, not this, not now, and then you back away from walking down that path so that you can explore other more resourceful, a better aligned paths. I love that, Jen. I will say how I recognize my limits. Like you, it's a visceral feeling in my body. Let me tell you about a time when I didn't know my limits. Back, Jen, when I first met you, we were on a retreat somewhere on the Sunshine Coast, and a beautiful lady called Annette was there, and I said to her, "You're so intuitive. Like, I don't have intuition. I just don't have it. Like that's what other people have. I've just got like practical living my life, survival mode. I don't have intuition." She's like, "Love, you've got it. You're just not allowing, you're not listening to your body, you're not allowing it." And so through burnout, like I said last week, that was the moment when I'll say I was forced to listen to my body, but I finally listened to my body. And what it feels like is, I say it's a visceral feeling when I'm approaching my limits, or I'm concerned that I'm, going beyond them. It feels like anxiety. It feels like, to me, I feel everything in my chest. Some of my clients feel it in their shoulders, in their jaw, in their stomach, in their solar plexus. It would be interesting to know, actually put it in the chat. Where do you feel stuff in your body? I feel everything in my heart space. I feel happiness, love, joy, fear, anxiety, depression. Yeah, Emma, thanks. In your gut. I feel it in my heart. And so the minute I'm starting to approach my limits, and this could be when I've been at my desk too long, when I've been out socializing too long. Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Megan. Yeah, it's all different for different people. So if I've been working too long, out socializing too long, if I've been in avoidance of self-responsibility, damn it, I feel that too. I'm avoiding doing what's good for me. I feel that too. And I feel it in my body. I can feel it when I look at my schedule for the week and go, fuck, that's a bit full. And I'll start moving things around and spreading it out so I can feel easier, so I can start to feel like my schedule is going to be more manageable. I feel it after lunch when it's my nap time. I'm like a 4-year-old who needs a nap. I don't have one every day, but I can tell when I would benefit from one, because it allows, or a meditation, or sitting in my reading nook. They all have the same effect of quieting my mind, becoming still, and giving myself relief from the do. And so, yeah, I love that people, and Bettina, whole body, I love that you're identifying in the chat there where you're feeling it, because that is the first, I think the most important thing in becoming aware of your limits is knowing where you feel it in your body and tuning into that and listening. Sure, we all know how to bust through our limits. We know how to go above and beyond, go the extra mile. Sometimes our employers reward us for that and give us extra accolades and pats on the back. And then we go home and, collapse in a heap. We all know how to do that, but do we know how to tune in, listen to that message our body is sending us, and then honor it? That's the courageous act. It's the courageous act. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I just would love to add a little. It's not little. It's a check-in. It's a ready reckoner that I use when I'm at that point that you just so beautifully described. And can I just say, why did we give up napping when we went to, napping is such a thing. Yeah. And napping can look a million ways. But if I said to all of you today, and those on the replay as well, have you ever gotten to that point where you go, I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to do next, or I've got so many things, I have no idea where to start. If you've ever, just give me a why in the chat, if you've ever experienced that level of, oh, I just don't know what to do. Yes, ma'am. So for me, recognizing that was really important. And the minute I recognize that, if I can hear that language occurring inside my body, either as a thought or as a feeling, the first thing I do is I remind myself, when I don't know what to do, I do nothing. Now, it's the most counterintuitive thing ever, but when we don't know what to do, we need to stop and do nothing. Now, nothing doesn't mean that you exit the building and don't return. Doing nothing can sometimes be as simple as a practice that I teach the women I work with is a thing called, and this, Jody, I know you're a huge fan of this process. It's just called 3 intentional breaths, or 3 conscious breaths. And sometimes your do nothing is as simple as 3 conscious breaths.
Can we do that now, Jen?
I would love, oh my gosh, it's my favorite thing to do. I love it.
I love
do it.
receiving it from you, and I know everyone on this call will as well. We hadn't planned this, but this would be a perfect thing to do right now, right?
Yeah, amazing. So I'll just give you the rundown of it. It's so simple. This is not mine. This is actually ancient. This is an ancient practice that came, I think, pre 4 BC, 4000 BC. Sorry, I don't know. It's like thousands and thousands of years ago by a people called the Hesychists, and it has been. I learned it through a beautiful just an extraordinary woman who's best-selling author, and I'm doing some study with her at the moment. Her name is Megan Watterson. So any of her books I highly recommend for women, and men too. Honestly, men too would really benefit from any of Megan's work. But this practice that she created from this ancient practice of the Hesychists, she calls it a soul voice meditation. For me, it's as simple as 3 intentional breaths. So all we do when we get that, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, or you wake up with that. I have a habit of waking up with going on. Every morning before I let my feet hit the ground, I take my 3 conscious intentional breaths. The first breath is just sinking, right? We take that first breath, and the intention is just simply to sink, right? Like you're sinking underwater, if you like, or just sinking into a bed of feathers or clouds or whatever. And you're just sinking from here, your head down into your heart, right? Whatever that means for you. You can't get this, you can only get this right. The first breath is we sink down into our heart space, or down into, your inner calm, whatever you want to call it. You can call it whatever you want. The second breath is we listen. We ask ourselves a question. I often ask every single day, what do I know? Remind me what I know, or remind me what's real. And just listen for an answer. You might get a message, you might get a word, you might get a feeling, you might get a vision, you might get nothing. That's okay too. And then the third intentional breath is we ascend, we rise, we come up. We come up out of that with that quiet little piece of wisdom that we've reconnected to. And if you don't get a piece of wisdom, you've actually just reconnected to yourself. You're grounded back into, you're out of reaction mode and you're back into respond mode. Let me respond to life here.
So Jen, take us into it.
Yeah. So if everyone would, if you're driving, do not do this. You can just come along for the journey. Do not do this if you're driving. But if you're not driving and it feels comfortable for you to do it, close down your eyes, or looking down, focus on something down, in front of you. So closing down your eyes, and let's just take that first intentional breath together. Just it's a conscious breath. Maybe you haven't taken one all day. So breathing in. And as you breathe out, just allow yourself to sink down, 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 like descending down under the waves or under the water. Or it might feel like floating down, 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 down through clouds. It might look like wax sliding down the side of a candle. But just invite yourself to sink down into your heart space, whatever that means for you. And when we arrive there, let's take a second intentional breath together. Just breathing in and breathing out. And as we breathe out, we ask ourselves in our minds, in our hearts, what do I know? What do I know? What's real right now? And then we just sit and listen. Tune in. You might hear a single word. You might see something. Just allow whatever comes to come. And then the third intentional breath, once we've received what we receive, we take that together and we rise back up. So let's do that now. Breathing in. Breathing out. And just allow yourself to ascend back into this moment. And just come on back.
How wonderful.
So simple. It is truly the simplest thing. It can be done in a minute. It can be done over the space of an hour if you want to.
I love that practice, Jen, and I do it myself a lot, and I've even started teaching it to my clients.
Yes. Share it around.
I just did that with you right now, and I feel clearer, more at peace, more centered, more grounded. And what we're talking about here is 3 intentional conscious breaths. Like, let us know in the chat how you're doing with that. When you're ready to come back into the chat,
Yeah.
like, don't rush it, but when you're ready, let us know how that was for you, because to me, I repeat that several times throughout the day at different moments when I'm reaching my limits.
When I'm in my don't know what to do, that's my do nothing.
Yeah.
When I'm in the I don't know what to do, my do nothing is my 3 intentional breaths. Just stop and just close my eyes if I can. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I actually take those 3 intentions. That is exactly what I needed just now. Emma, amazing. I'm thrilled to hear.
Em.
Do you know, it's always exactly what we need, but we have to disconnect from the narrative that's going on in our brains that is just, the conditioning that we have to keep going. And that is conditioning, that is generational old conditioning, and it's not ours. It's not even who we are. But that's the narrative that's going to tell you to keep going, keep going, keep going. Who here does, has multiple things going at once? Even if it's just home-based stuff, right? What can I get done while I've got the washing on? Okay, I've got the washing on, now I can do this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we are just constantly up here and we're never here, and this is, imagine arriving into every single moment from that calm, centered, aligned version of you, because that's what we all just did. We just, alignment is just coming back to that, coming back to the truth of who you are.
I love that share, Megan, too. I know that I'm strong, definitely more grounded. Beautiful.
What do I know? I know
that was my postie. That was my postie. He and I have a silent agreement that he arrives in the middle of every Zoom call. So let's jump into, so recognizing our limits very much in our body, not this, not now, stillness instead, and then knowing where in your body you feel those limits, that anxiety, that tension arising, and tuning into that and allowing yourself to feel it, notice it, observe it, and honor it, right? And just honor it for a moment with that little tool, those 3 intentional breaths. I just want to move into saying no. And Jen, if you're happy, I'll kick off on this one.
Please, Ange. Yeah, please. I would love for you to.
So last week, and you might explore this as well, we talked about saying yes to ourselves. It means we don't have to say no to others. And I think that is, like, I'll let you continue with that, Jen, in a moment. So I know it's a huge part of what you talk about. I want to share with you an experience from yesterday. I've got a client, an executive in one of the emergency services, who's worked his way through burnout. And what he's noticing is an identity shift. He's asking, who am I now? Now that I'm recovering from burnout and I'm never going back to that person, even if I wanted to, I can't. My body won't let me go back to that level of over functioning, right? Who am I now? And in defining that, we asked him some questions that he did some journaling around and offered some immediate responses to, around who he is, what's important to him, what he no longer cares about, how he works now, how he listens to himself, and he's starting to create a new narrative about who he is now. And all of that is new and unfamiliar, and he's wrestling with it. He's like, well, what will the outside world think of me? Not his words, but my summary of his concerns. And when we're moving through burnout, we're moving into recovery, this identity shift is something that I want to prepare you for and allow you to expect the wrestle with it. Because in that shifting identity, you will find that every time you say no to yourself, oh, it's my postie again. Every time you say no to yourself, you will feel out of alignment. Look, can anyone run down and get that parcel?
I was just going to say, do you want me to go grab that while you keep talking?
I do. The identity shift and the wrestle that comes with it is something that I kind of wish I had have known was going to hit me after burnout, because as I'm shifting into my new identity, what I found was I didn't have to do much saying no, because as I'm moving towards my new identity and having my own wrestles with that, my only interest was becoming more aligned with myself. And in ways that I might have been inviting unwelcome requests from people who wanted things from me, I just stopped inviting them. That's not where my focus was. My focus is no longer on the outside world. It's on, how do I show up? How do I live into this healthier, more aligned, more full, whole way of being and living? And when I'm focused on that, you know, the requests of others, they either fit in with that or they don't. And my number one loyalty is to myself, right? That's what I've got for you on saying no. It's really not about fending others off. It's about becoming loyal to yourself. And Jen, what have you got on this?
Oh my God, Ange, I just honoring you, girl. I'm just so fully, that was beautiful, an absolutely divine share and articulation around that, the death of those identities. And that might sound a little dramatic.
Oh, no.
But it is. But it is. It is like that, you know. And if we, some of the work I do is centered around, you know, patterns, childhood patterns that we that have been given to us, and we, you know, we didn't ask for them, and it's no one's fault, but we have them. And those patterns are how we got love, or how we got recognition, or how we got validation. So some of us are saying yes from that, yes to others from that pattern. So it's going to feel very, very foreign to start saying no to a pattern that has been your basis for getting love and approval, right? So for many of us, when we begin to come more into alignment for ourselves and saying yes, you know, I'm not saying no to you, I'm saying yes to me. When we start to do that, it is absolutely going to bring up some stuff for us, you know, as we transition through that. I had someone share, someone was trying to make a decision, a client I was working with was trying to make a decision the other day, and she said, you know, I want to say yes to this. No, sorry, let me just reframe that. She wanted to say no. She wanted to say no to something. And she didn't, because what was coming up for her was that it was going to cause it's going to inconvenience the other person. It's going to upset their schedule. It's going to make life hard for them. So she was resisting saying no to this situation. And every fiber of her being wanted to say no. And I said, okay, if we take out of this equation, let's just, you know, ask this question again and take out of the equation everyone else. What is your desire here? What is true for you? What feels right for you in this moment? And she said, well, I would say no to them. I went, okay, there's your answer. Now you get to shift through the identity that is freaking out right now about how everyone else is going to react and respond to that. When you start to come into alignment, you do become a new version of you, a version of you you've never known, and nor have the people around you known. So, you know,
they might need time to adjust.
Yes, we have to offer first and foremost ourselves grace and space to step into this new aligned identity, and know that we can offer that same grace and space to the people around us who have always known us to be a certain way. It is I think this is such a huge piece, Ange, and it really encapsulates everything about burnout for me. And I continue to come back to the statement, burnout is the end game. That's where, that's our rock bottom, if you like. It's not how it begins. It is the rock bottom of us finally going, this is not the truth of who I am. This life that I've created here is not the truth of who I am. And coming back into alignment with that version of you, that's a beautiful path to walk. And it will take courage, and it will take a willingness to want to live like that versus live the other way.
Yeah. And how do I say no? There's a client, a beautiful client on this call who I've just finished a call with this morning, and I'm looking at her name and I'm just needing to share this. Maybe instead of asking, how do I say no? It's a question of, what do I need to say yes to? And for this beautiful client this morning, she's overflowing with passion for the things that she cares about, that she hasn't been allowing herself to express, to communicate to the world, or to engage with fully. Maybe, sure, there might be times when you need to say no, but maybe a more powerful question is, what do you need to say yes to in your life? I would love to see this in the chat. What do you need to say yes to?
That's a great question, Ange.
So,
before we wrap up, I am going to come back and acknowledge all of the comments and just make sure there's nothing there that we've missed. But that's a great question.
Yeah, what do I need to say yes to? So I know that you're listening and you're probably sitting there in your pottery studio doing the do. I'm so proud of you for saying yes to yourself and everyone else on this call. What do you need to say yes to today? And maybe, Jen, I'll ask you that question. And for me, I'm going to Sydney today to work with my new mentors tomorrow. And what I need to say yes to is just a really gentle, calm travel experience. I'm not usually a fan of airports, but I'm not going to be rushing. I'm going to make sure that I have time for a coffee at the airport, that it's gentle, that I've got something that I'd like to read on the plane, or maybe a meditation downloaded that I want to listen to on the plane. And when I check into this beautiful hotel in Double Bay tonight, I'm going to fill up the tub and have a bath. Right? That's how I need to say yes to myself today, because I don't want to turn up in a frazzled mindset meeting my mentors for our day tomorrow, right? That's me saying yes to myself today. Jen, what are you doing today to say yes to yourself?
Yeah, so I'm saying, and I often have this as a thing, but what I'm saying yes to is giving myself to let my schedule go out the window. Every day I give myself permission to allow my schedule to go out the window. Today, I'm especially giving permission to that because my beautiful adopted daughter, she's not actually my daughter, but she's just such a part of our family, has just gone into labor. So I'm kind of on the, maybe I'm just going to, drop everything and drive. She's up at Kenilworth. So I'm just going to drive and head up there and be with her today if she asks for that. That's actually pretty key as well. When we chatted this morning, I gave her full permission to ask for my help or to not want my help, and both are totally acceptable. So that was a beautiful thing. So I'm saying yes to just being open to change. Thank you, Jody. Yes, being open and trusting that, the timing of everything. I often find that when I can be in the trusting of, let's just say all of my day goes out the window today. What if me trying to control something so, tightly and just keep everything in here, what if that's actually blocking everything, all this other stuff that could potentially be coming into me? So, yeah, I mean, if you're a control freak, I used to be, I'm not so much now, but if you are a control freak, especially if you've got kids, my gosh, letting my day go sideways as a mother was something that was I just couldn't even fathom what that would be like. Now, I say yes to letting everything go sideways, because is it going sideways, or is it just, is it just opening up some other possibility for me? Yeah, that's me.
Comment there too, Bettina. There's a theme for you. You do need to step outside of your office. You've said that last week as well, so I hope you're doing that. I'd love to hear from the others on the call. We got Sarah, Megan, Nancy, Jody, Janelle, Gabrielle, Emma, and Bettina. What are you saying yes to? Jody, I know you said yes to open to being open to change. How are you guys going to say yes to yourself today? I would just love to see that come in as our conversation progresses. Let's talk about, so we've done how to recognize your limits. It's in your body, right? How to say no. And the other side of that coin is how to say yes to yourself. And let's move on to the third piece, which is around how to manage the expectations of ourselves and others.
Oh, some beautiful comments coming in.
Yes.
Just before we get the saying no to others, saying yes to yourself piece, just before we leave that, I want to just invite and just offer that if it's always been difficult for you to say no to others, please know that, you give yourself some time. And I always say, rather than start with the big ticket items, start with a small thing, right? So it might be as simple as, if you've never, chosen the restaurant, if you always give over that, but secretly you really want Thai, but you always just kind of go, yeah, you choose, I don't mind. That might be like a 5 or 6 thing on a scale of 10, that you could start practicing saying yes to yourself, and it might start just as simply as saying, you know what, I know I always say that I don't care, but I really would like Thai tonight, or whatever it is. So start with, the little things, start with some little things and become practiced at this. Yeah.
When I was recovering from burnout, just on that, I would wake up and ask myself, what is the next most loving thing I can do for myself today, right? It's saying yes to me. And sometimes that meant that I'd have a cup of tea instead of my standard cup of coffee in the morning. You think, big whoop, Ange, no big deal, but actually just those little moments of tuning in that allow you to make a choice that's aligned is like a muscle that you build. And the more we tune in and say yes to ourselves, the bigger that muscle will grow and the more natural it will feel. Yes, thank you.
Amazing. I'm just having I don't normally sit like this, if anyone's wondering why I'm kind of got this angle. I'm reading the chat. I'm just going back and just wanting to just read through some of these comments. Realizations that burnout is more than just physical. Jody, absolutely, it is way more than physical. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. It's all the planes. More being aware of saying no and respecting my boundaries. A work in progress. Bettina, yeah, that is a work in progress, and for me it is too. There are times where I don't be powerful in my yeses and my nos, and I become aware of that, and then I get to catch it and maybe go back and go, you know what, I did say yes to this, but what's coming through for me now that it's a no? So yeah, please, grace and space as we become practiced at this. Not this for me was recognizing a cultural / values misfit. Thank you for sharing, Megan. Yeah, the not this can show up in a multitude of ways. Absolutely. Emma feels it in her gut. Megan, definitely in the base of my gut. Yep, lots of gut. Not this. I just felt this in my solar plexus, my whole body. Yeah. Gabby, brain fog and tingling all over. I cannot remember ever not feeling it. Brain fog and tingling all over. I cannot remember ever not feeling it. Gabby, can you give me some more? That probably was in context at the time, but if you can give me some more on that, that would be great. Oh, I'm with you. Brain fog and tingling all over. That's your that's your visceral. Yeah, gotcha. Oh, I've had that too, my love. Yeah, I get that. Let me just second breath. Yeah, we've got that. And it's important to accept that mourning, Megan, this is beautiful. And it is important to accept that mourning your old identity is completely okay. Yeah, man, I've mourned many versions of me. And I'll add to that in a second. Feel no guilt and don't get stuck there too long. Keep moving forward with your new self. Gosh, I couldn't love that even more. I couldn't love that more. One of the things that I share with people is to think about those old identities as not things that we have to, cut away from ourselves, or I was going to say circumcise. That is so not the right word, but you get what I'm talking about, like surgically remove from ourselves. In fact, those identities, I think about them like rings on a tree. So the concentric rings on a tree, they are still you. They are part of you that got you to this new concentric ring. So as you take on a new identity, know that you are just now a bigger space that holds all of those identities, right? So it's not, we don't have to cut them from ourselves. Yeah, it's an expansion process. Yeah,
this will be a term I know Bettina is familiar with as well, but we say transcend and include.
Beautiful.
So you transcend the old version of yourself. You don't lose it. You don't cut it away. It's there. You just transcend it, and it's an inclusion in your new expanded experience of your identity. Yeah,
I love that, Ange. Transcend and include. I do love that. Yes to being open to change. Let me just complete these. There's a couple more. Need to say yes more to myself and to sit outside every work morning. That was that's Bettina. You've addressed that. Yes to controlling only my thoughts. Yeah. Maybe, Gabby, let your thoughts be like clouds rather than try and control them. Just let them come and let them go. Sometimes that can be a bit exhausting when we try and control our thoughts. I'm sick today. I'm allowing myself to be sick today. It's a biggie. Oh, honoring you, Mancy. Absolutely honoring you. That is huge. Yeah, it's a big thing. Saying yes to getting outdoors and exercising. Emma, yes, celebrating you. Yes to me looks like a sneaky enzyme treatment this afternoon. I love it. And to being more aware of the natural environment around me during walks, hikes, just allowing me to be more in the moment. Yes.
I know that enzyme treatment, Megan. It's a good one.
Love it. Today, my small promise to myself is, Jody, yes, that's something that Jody and I work together. And the small promise to yourself, and you know this too, of course, sometimes it can be as simple as just making a small promise to yourself every day. And by small, it could be as small as I'm going to drink a glass of water today, right? I'm going to take 3 intentional breaths today. Small promise to yourself. That just builds such alignment. Yes, that's it. I'm in controlling. Thanks, Gab. I'm in controlling mind. But absolutely, Gabby. Yes, controlling mind versus, it's controlling other people's thoughts and behaviors. Whew, that's a futile existence for sure. What else have we got? We've got one more there. Janelle, saying yes to making my personal time my top priority to develop rather than my work life. Yes. Asking myself what I want and like to do. That is such a powerful question. What do I even like? What do I want to do? What do I desire? Separate from asking others, yes, oh my gosh, that's so good. Then I'm choosing rather than just falling into friendships. Oh, Janelle, that's so good. What a beautiful share. I have a little
Janelle and I have known each other for 25 years. And although we haven't all that been in touch all that much. And Janelle, what you've just written there is the most beautiful thing, making time for you, because I've always known you as such a connector, so curious about others. It's why you make friendships so easily. And it's all of this outward energy and love and joy and enthusiasm that you project. you actually get to save not just a little bit, but you get to save a lot of that for yourself. And I love that you're going to create that time. So.
Oh my gosh, I love it too. A little tool that I have created for myself just this year, actually, this is a new tool for me, is I have got a little notebook and it just sits on my coffee table. And it's just little, and I've called it my desire notebook. It's Jen's, Jen's desires in 2022. What do I desire in 2022? And every day I sit there and I just write, something in it, and I get to really live in that that really open, high vibrational, abundant thinking space of dreaming my future, dreaming the life that I desire into existence. And notice, if you do that, even if you just write down today 5 things that I desire. Desire is a powerful word in place of want. Want can sometimes be can come from lack, but desire is playful and imaginative and free and open and expansive. Yeah, so it's a really fun thing to do every day. I've had so much fun writing my 2022 desires every day.
I love that, Jen. It allows you to really get into the energy of it. Let's go to that last content piece around expectations of ourselves, how we manage those and the expectations of others. I've got probably 2 expectations of myself, and I teach this to my clients. Firstly, it is to be gentle, kind, and loving. And the word that you've mentioned a couple of times, Jen, is grace. And I'm not a huge one for tattoos, but I've got it tattooed on my wrist here, something around grace. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it.
I've never seen that. All the time we've spent together,
it's covered in a watch because the corporate world doesn't love it, right? But it's by grace alone is the tattoo. And I love this. I've only got one, that's it. And I love this idea of grace, giving ourselves grace, living in a state of grace. It's gentle, it's loving, it's kind, it's dignified, it's tuned in. It breathes.
It breathes. Grace breathes. Oh my gosh, Ange.
It doesn't push, rush, strive, drive, make it happen, nail it to the floor, get there at all costs, win, win, win. You might win occasionally. You might win things through living in a state of grace that you couldn't have hoped for or expected. And with that, to boil it down into a practical strategy, and I just taught this to a different client yesterday, corporate guy is like, Angela, I really need some help with personal organization. This is the language that he uses, and very corporate sort of way to go about it. And so we listed his daily top 5s. There might not be 5, there might only be 3. If you're in burnout, pick 1 or 2 or 3 things that you need to do every day. But for him, it was a daily top 5, and they were the 5 things that he needed to do every day. My daily top 5s are stuck to the window in front of me here. The 5 things you need to do every day to feel like things are under control here. I've done enough. If I touch base on those 5 things are like fairly steady in my world. And what we did was map those daily top 5s into the energetic flow of his day. He had a high point between about 8:30 and 1. That was his productive time. He's mentally alive. Then he has lunch. He doesn't feel like doing much, like most people. Right? Like me, for sure, because I have a nap. But after lunch, he set aside 2.5 hours from like 1 to 3:30 just to do things that didn't require all of his energy to be externalized. So he went through his emails, and there was one thing in there around outreach to other people in his community, in his industry, that he wanted to do that didn't require a lot of him. And then he switched back on from about 4 to 5:30 when he finished work for the day. And so we mapped his daily top 5s into that kind of territory. And it's not like this needs to happen at 8 and that needs to happen at 9. We go, here are the things we do in the morning, here are the things we do after lunch, and here are the things we do late afternoon. And in general, if most days he can honor his energetic flow, he's feeling like he's not constricted by a strict routine that locks him in. Some people love routine, love that consistency and discipline, and if that is you, I'm like totally envious. It's not me. In my day, I want freedom and flow, and like Jen said, sometimes the schedule goes out the window, but I know there are certain things that if I don't get done in the morning, they don't get done. Right? So honor your energetic flow throughout the day in terms of the expectation of yourself. And when you commit to that, the expectations of others become less important. But you might also find yourself, I know employers have expectations, right? And so when you can align yourself, when you can align your day to work in alignment with you, you're going to produce better results with greater ease and you're going to be a better person to be around.
Mm.
So honoring yourself actually has the effect of helping others as well. And that's what I've got on expectation.
I love that, Ange. Yeah, I haven't got anything much to add to that, because you've just nailed it. That energetic flow that you just referred to, that's alignment, baby. That's alignment, you know. And as we said at the top of this call, you want to know what the antidote to burnout is. The antidote to burnout is alignment, coming into alignment. And that is honoring your personal energetic flow. In terms of expectations, can we we can't manage other people's expectations, but we can manage our alignment to their expectations. I think that's really important, and that might require some big inner questioning, some big decisions. But yeah, I think what we can do is manage our own expectations. What feels like a heck yes in our bodies, and just staying in alignment with that. But you've summed that up beautifully, Ange. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Fabulous. All right, we've got 7 minutes left on this call, and what I want to invite our participants to do is I'd really love to hear from everybody. We've got Bettina, Emma, Gabrielle, Janelle, Jody, Mancy, Megan, and Sarah on the call. I'd love to hear your takeaways from this call. Maybe just one. If you've got two or more, that's fine. But just like your one big takeaway from this call, and that is the thing that is like really resonating with you most strongly. So I'm just going to, give you a few minutes to drop that in there. And if you've got any burning questions as well, sure, drop those in, and we'll answer those in the time that we have left. Jody, identity. Who am I now? Oh, I love that. Sit with the unknown, sit with the uncertainty of that, and allow it to be. That question can either strike fear and concern, or it can strike expansion and possibility. So I love that identity question. It's okay to not be okay, yeah, and it's not a permanent state.
Yes, thank you for dropping that.
You are moving through that. Yeah, and I'm sure you're sensing that things are changing around you. Excitement. Tell me more, Jody. Like if your takeaway is excitement, tell me more.
Jody had the one above that as well. Identity. Who am I now?
So it's the excitement around that. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. I love that. What did you just say, Angie? You just said something. Oh, I know. Nothing's permanent. Something that's really we haven't got time to go into now. It's probably an hour-long conversation on its own. Is the law of impermanence, and how most of us are trying to live against the law of impermanence. It's a universal law. Nothing is permanent. We know that. How? Because the universe has been expanding for 13.8 billion years, with or without human beings' intervention. So we know the seasons show us. We know nothing's permanent, but humans think that they know better than everything and try to control that. Yeah. The law of impermanence. Yeah, nothing's permanent. Nothing we feel, nothing we think, nothing outside of us. Nothing. Not even death, in my opinion. That's another deep conversation, but not even death is permanent.
So Bettina's saying here, alignment in myself would benefit not only me, but others around me. Yes, love that. Emma, I'm not saying no to you. I'm saying yes to me. This would be very difficult for me, but starting with small things to say yes to. Yes, start small. The only place to start.
Yeah.
Megan, the chat about grace and space, that resonates. My mantra during transition, I'm transforming with strength, courage, and grace. Girl, I've spoken to you. You don't need to work on strength. You've got that in bucket loads. And courage as well. I think some grace for yourself is where, knowing you, Megan, is where it's not the work to be done, it's where the allowing is. And
sometimes the strength can be in not being strong. Sometimes it requires strength to not
be the strong one.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And that there's courage and grace in that for sure. Yeah. Especially if you've gotten love. This is a good exploration, especially if you've gotten love growing up for being the strong one. Yeah. Sometimes the eldest in the family can have that pattern a bit, or it's a deeper conversation, so we won't go there. But yeah, interesting, beautiful though, love it.
And Bettina, making the time to breathe. Yes, what a helpful thing. Far out. Whenever my chest tells me something's not right, I'm approaching my limits, it's my go-to, those intentional breaths. Change can be uncomfortable. Anything worth waiting for always is. Well, yes. Like, I'm going to agree with that in the main, definitely. Change can be uncomfortable. It usually is. It makes it worth it when it's uncomfortable, but also it's like this transformation away from overriding the signals from my body and not listening to myself towards listening to myself and coming into alignment. Once you see that, you can't unsee it.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't become more comfortable, I wouldn't say. Over time, I think you just get more committed to it. Yeah.
But I think initially, Gabby, change is uncomfortable. Like, it can be very uncomfortable because you're essentially becoming something you've never been. The best example of that is the caterpillar and the butterfly. It's a well-used example, but the piece that gets missed from that, to me, that isn't pretty for Instagram memes, is what does the caterpillar actually do to itself before it becomes a butterfly? Well, what's going on inside that little chrysalis? That caterpillar is literally pulling itself apart. You've got to look up the National Geographic to get the real details of what's going on for that caterpillar. Like, it's literally pulling its arms and legs off and its head off and its body, and just and then reassembling itself. I can't imagine that's comfortable all while being inside that chrysalis. You're doing it in a bloody sleeping bag, for God's sake. It can feel like that. And what emerges is the new version of you, the new aligned version of you. And it's not a one-time gig. Alignment is it's a moment to moment. Every moment we're stepping into alignment or not. Yeah, love it.
So Jen, 1 minute left.
Yes, the process of change.
I'm going to thank everybody on this call for your contribution today. Please feel free, we'll send out the replay like we did last time. Feel free to share it to the people who would benefit from it. This week has all been about being gentle and kind to yourself in the process of living in and with burnout. We've given you some tools for that. Next week, we're talking about the gifts and the lessons from burnout. Like, we're talking about what's on the other side of burnout. And there have been so many gifts and lessons. For me, like, my life is unrecognizable now in the best possible way, because I started listening to my body in burnout. So that's where we're going next week. Anything to add in parting, Jan, and then we'll stop the recording?
I do just want to add, just acknowledge Gabby. Sometimes in the chat, there's no intonation, so sometimes we misinterpret. So you were meaning in your comment the process of change.
Change is uncomfortable. Yeah.
Fully get that. Yep, fully get that. Bettina, thank you so much for today. Really appreciate these sessions. Bettina, I love them. This conversation, Ange and I, we usually do while we're hauling our butts up big mountains. And, you know, that's how the idea of even having this conversation as an inclusive thing, you know, so that we can all be party to it, even got birthed, was through us, living in alignment, climbing up mountains.
Yeah. And so the fact that you guys are tuning in, like, we're not even having a chat altogether, we're honoring your contribution in the chat, but the fact that you guys just want to listen to us talk about burnout, it's an honor. And our aim is to communicate as much value as we can to help you guys have a smoother experience, a more gentle, loving, kind experience of this. So we'll see you next week for gifts and lessons.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate you all. Lots and lots of love.
Okay. Bye-bye.